Hey, welcome. You ever have one of those work days where you feel like you're just running around putting out one fire after another? Well, today we're going to tackle the reason why that happens. It's a problem that plagues almost every single workplace, from a massive factory all the way down to your own messy desktop. We're going to call it the crisis of invisibility, and we're going to show you how a really simple but powerful idea can make hidden problems totally obvious so you can solve them before they even blow up. And this quote right here from Fujio Cho talking about Taiichi Ono, one of the geniuses behind the Toyota production system, man, it just nails it. This was never about being neat just for the sake of being neat. No way. The whole point was to create an environment where problems have nowhere to hide. They stick out like a sore thumb. That idea, that commitment to being able to just look and see if something's wrong, that's the core of what we're talking about today. So, what does this crisis of invisibility actually look like in the real world? Well, it feels exactly like that firefighting we mentioned. You're just lurching from one emergency to the next. There's no time to think, no time to plan, because you only find out about problems when they explode right in your face. And this really shows two fundamentally different ways to work. On one side, you've got the firefighting crisis mode. This is totally reactive. Problems are buried under piles of stuff, lost in confusing digital folders, or hidden by messy processes. So what happens? Management just becomes one frantic reaction after another. But on the other side, you've got the goal, making problems visible. This is a proactive way of working, where your entire workspace is designed to bring issues to the surface when they're still small and, easy to fix. Now, this huge shift from fighting fires to proactively solving problems, well, that's a cornerstone of what's known as the Toyota way. It's all about creating a workplace that actually communicates with you, a place that tells you exactly what's going on with just a single glance. And this whole philosophy, it has a name, and it has a very clear definition. So at its heart, visual management is not just about having a few charts on the wall. It's about any device or system that tells you two simple things instantly. First, here's the right way this should be done. And second, we are not doing it the right way. It makes the standard crystal clear, and it makes any deviation from that standard impossible to miss. And this saying from Toyota is just brilliant because it gets to a fundamental truth. I mean, think about it for a second. How can you possibly know if something is wrong if you haven't clearly defined what right looks like? A standard is your baseline. It could be the exact spot a tool should be, the number of emails you need to answer in an hour, whatever. A problem is just the gap between that standard and what's actually happening. No standard, no problem. So why is this whole visual approach so powerful? Well, it's simple biology. It taps directly into our most dominant sense. We are visual creatures. As brain scientist John Medina puts it, our vision just trumps everything else. A good visual system gives you information way faster and more effectively than a 1,000-page manual or a long email chain ever could. It's just how we're wired. Okay, so you're sold. You want to build a visual workplace. Where do you start? Well, the foundation, the absolute ground floor, is a system known as 5S. It's basically a series of steps for getting rid of waste and setting up a clean, organized space where all those hidden problems can finally come out into the light. The 5S system looks simple, but it's incredibly powerful. First, you sort through absolutely everything, and you only keep what you actually need. Second, you set in order, which means giving every single one of those necessary items a specific, logical home. Third is shine. This is about cleaning, yeah, but it's also a way to inspect things. Fourth, you standardize the first three S's to make them habit. And finally, the toughest part, you sustain the whole system through discipline. Let's make this a little more real. For sort, a classic technique is the red tag strategy. Anything you're not sure you need gets a red tag. If nobody uses it in 30 days, poof, it's gone. For set and order, you can picture shadow boards for tools where an outline shows you exactly where everything goes. For shine, think of a daily wipe down of a machine that also serves as a quick check for any oil leaks or wear and tear. But here's the key. 5S isn't just a cleanup project. It creates a stable, predictable workplace where problems have absolutely no choice but to show themselves. All right, so once you've built that solid foundation with 5S, you can start to level up. You can move to more advanced visual tools that don't just give you information, they actually start to organize and guide the work itself. Let's take Kanban, for example. The word literally just means signboard. In its simplest form, it could be an empty parts bin. Sending that empty bin back to the storeroom is the Kanban. It's a visual signal that says, hey, I've used these parts, please send me more. This creates what's called a pull system, which means you only do work when there's a real demand for it. It's a killer way to prevent overproduction. Then you've got something called the and-on. Now, this is a real game changer. It's an alert system, usually a light or a cord, that empowers any team member, not just the boss, to signal that there's a problem. Could be a defect, a broken tool, anything. And when that light flashes or the line stops, it's a visual alarm for the whole team. It prevents bad work from moving on, and it forces everyone to solve the problem right then and there. You can actually think of all these visual tools on a kind of spectrum, 4 levels of increasing power. Level 1 just tells you information, like a sign on the wall. Level 2 is designed to grab your attention, like a traffic light turning red. Level 3 actually starts to organize your behavior, like that shadow board we talked about. The empty space tells you something's missing. And then there's Level 4, the most powerful of all. These tools actually prevent mistakes from happening in the first place. They're often called poka yokes or arrow-proofing devices, like a USB plug that can only fit in one way.
Now, it's really easy to hear all this and think, okay, this is great for a factory, but I work in an office. But here's the thing. These principles are completely universal. They apply just as powerfully to knowledge work as they do to manufacturing. So in project management, for instance, you have Obeya rooms, or big rooms, where all the charts and timelines are on the walls for everyone to see. In software development, pretty much everyone uses digital Kanban boards now to see the flow of work. And in healthcare, simple things like checklists or color-coded surgical trays are visual controls that save lives. The tools might look different, but the goal is always the same. Make the status, the standard, and the problems visible to everybody. Let's bring this right home to your personal space. Think about your computer's desktop or your documents folder. If I asked you to find a specific file from 6 months ago, could you do it in, say, under 10 seconds? Or would it be a frantic search through folders named final, final_v2, and really _final_use this one? That little bit of hesitation, that frustration, that's a signal that your personal workspace is visually out of control. So there you have it. The bottom line of visual management is this. Problems love to hide in darkness and clutter. By making your work visual, by defining your standards, and making it obvious when things go wrong, you give yourself and your team the power to see problems, solve them, and get better every single day. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What invisible problems are hiding in your workspace right now? And what's the first, simple, visual step you can take to bring them into the light?